put a food in his mouth without reciting a bracha, which is a big problem, big time problem. As we know, people have to be sensitive to thinking before they put food in their mouth. But it's a big sin to put food in your mouth without reciting a blessing. But the question is, people make mistakes, and it happens that people put things in their mouth. Some people make that mistake, and now the question: what do you do if you catch yourself? That's really the discussion of our Gemara. You caught yourself. You put something in your mouth. So we said the Gemara brought three different statements. And the Gemara says it's three different cases. The law is three different laws based on three different cases. Different case, different law, different reason. That's what the Gemara said. Depending if you had a solid, a liquid, and depending on what type of, if the food got disgusted once it entered your mouth. If you take a food and then let's say you put a piece of a berry, a blueberry in your mouth. Once you bit it, the thing becomes disgusting. The blueberry is not something you can take it out of your mouth, and it got disgusted. It got through your chewing. We're not going to tell you take that blueberry out of your mouth and then say a bracha because it already got. What do? We say move it to your side of your mouth and say the bracha. If it's a liquid, the Gemara says you could technically swallow the liquid. That's what the Gemara says. And it's a matter between the Rabbi Vadi Yosef and the Chafetz Chaim, the Mishnah Berurah. There seems to be a difference of opinion regarding the liquid. Why? Because the Chafetz Chaim brings down, if you have other liquid, more of that liquid, so just spit out that liquid. Don't benefit from it. Don't benefit without a bracha. Because if you swallow it, you benefit. However, the Yalkut Yosef says that technically you could swallow that liquid. We're not going to tell you to have to throw out and waste that liquid. It really is. There seems to be a difference of opinion. You see, we're going to get out here. We'll take out the Shulchan Aruch. We'll see the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch is in Siman Kuf Ayin Beis. Look at what the Shulchan Aruch says. The Shulchan Aruch says, in Siman Kuf Ayin Beis, says the following. If a person put liquid in his mouth without a bracha, the Shulchan Aruch says he swallows it and he does not say a bracha. Now, the Mishnah Berurah brings down, Chafetz Chaim says, some say that's only if you have no other liquid to drink and you need that liquid that you put in your mouth. You need that piece, that drink that you put in your mouth. But if you have other liquids, spit it out. Don't benefit without a bracha. And that's what he says. That's the best way to conduct yourself. It's not called wasting the food, the liquid, when you're preventing yourself from doing a sin of benefiting without a bracha. That would be the Ashkenazic way to go.
You are also created this takes more people around you.
So maybe go to the bathroom. Let's say you're by yourself or whatever it is. Now, but in the Yalkut Yosef, they don't say that. He says, interesting that he says, because he takes the Shulchan, because the Shulchan Aruch does not make a distinction whether you have more liquid, other liquid. The Shulchan Aruch just says you could swallow it. So in the Yalkut Yosef says, you swallow it, and even if you don't need this liquid, you could go ahead and swallow it. But he does say you should think the bracha in your mind. That's what he says. Now, of course, if you could put the liquid to your side of your mouth and say the bracha, that also would be fine. But generally, it's very difficult to put the liquid to your side. But some people could do it, and then you could, depending how much liquid you put into your mouth. That was the discussion that we had. So again, a liquid, we said, different opinions, two opinions in halacha. Either you spit it out. If you're not in dire need of that liquid, spit it out. Or The Avad Yosef says you could swallow it. Before you swallow, think the bracha in your mind. Dave, is that clear? If it's a food, a salad, if the food did not get disgusting as a result, let's say you put a hard pretzel in your mouth and you made it and you put it in your mouth and you forgot to say a bracha, so just take the pretzel out and say the bracha. You put a hard piece of apple in your mouth and you forgot to say a bracha, take it out. It didn't get disgusted by putting it in your mouth. It's a hard, very hard food. Take it out and say bracha. If it's a salad food that got disgusted by putting it in your mouth, let's say a piece of potato kugel or a piece of berries, so then you know what you do? Move it to the side and say the bracha. That's the halacha. Is that clear? Mr. Haver, is that clear? Now let's look at the Gemara. We're now on the Gemara on Nun Aleph, Amid Aleph, 51, 51a. And also we learned, what did you say? Soup is like a liquid. So if you put soup in your mouth without saying a bracha and you caught yourself before you swallowed, so then what do? You go ahead and, again, two different opinions what you could do, whether you think the bracha and swallow or you spit it out.
No, there's some foods that's not soup. I'm thinking like asma. I'm thinking it might look something more like pudding.
Because
Right.
could you? Is it pudding? Pudding is very soft. You can't really take it out of your mouth. You put a piece of, depending on what kind of pudding you're talking about. The chocolate pudding, you can't take it out of your mouth. So then move it to the side and say the bracha if you're able to do that. Now, also we found in general, we found the halacha. It's very important that we said earlier this morning that when you say a bracha, in general, you should not be anything in your mouth when you say a bracha. I mean, you're in the middle of eating a piece of cake. Don't say the bracha on the drink. We have something because it says in the pasuk, your mouth should be filled with the praise of Hashem, not with something else in your mouth. But when you're stuck, when you can't take the thing out of your mouth because it's, let's say, a blueberry, a strawberry, or a blueberry, something that's already disgusting in your mouth, then you have no choice. So you say the bracha when it's in your mouth. But in general, we do not want you to say a bracha with something else that's in your mouth. Is that clear? That's the halacha. Now let's look at the Gemara, 4 lines from the top. They asked Rav Chisda, Mr. Haber, you have it? 4 lines from the top on Nun Aleph, 51a.
Yes.
4 lines from the top. Rav Chisda. They asked Rav Chisda. Mi she'achal l'shata v'lo berach. Somebody who ate and did not say a bracha. We're going to learn the Gemara according to the Vilna Gaon's text in Rashi. He went ahead back in the Gemara. He ate. First, you sent to the group. I want to thank you for sending to the group, by the way. If you ate and you did not say a bracha or you drank, should I go ahead and say a bracha after I started eating? I started eating and I started drinking. I had a bite. I swallowed. I had some cake. I had a drink of water. I forgot to say a bracha. Now I plan on drinking more water, and I want to go ahead and eat more cake. So the Gemara wants to know the fact that I missed saying the bracha before. Do I now go ahead and make a bracha now when I plan on continuing eating, or do we say that I don't need to say a bracha? Now the obvious question. What's the obvious question? What do you mean? The fact that you forgot to say a bracha on the first half of bottle of first 5 ounces, of course you should say the bracha on the next 5 ounces. What's the Gemara's question? Again, this is the way the Vilna Gaon learns the Rashi. The Gemara wants to know if I started. Let's say you see that cup. It was a full cup to begin with. If a person forgot to say bracha on the first half of the cup, now he catches himself. Should he say bracha on the next half of the cup or not? So you would say, of course you say a bracha on this. What's the Gemara's question? So perhaps the Gemara's question is, the Chachamim said you say a bracha before you eat, and perhaps the Gemara was thinking that his question, at least the rabbi's question, was, but if I did not say a bracha before I ate, I started to look at the eating as one all my whole eating is like one action. We're going to look at it. So if I didn't say bracha before I started the drink, maybe I'm not obligated to say bracha because I'm not obligated to say bracha on the rest. That's what the Gemara was possibly thinking. It's one eating and you missed out what you were supposed to do, and therefore it's too late. That's the possibility. Of course, the Gemara is going to say otherwise. Of course, you have to say the bracha. That's one possibility. I saw the slot. Someone gives a different answer. The Madana Yontav says, "What's the Gemara's question?" The Gemara's question is, when you go ahead and you caught yourself, you drank 5 ounces without a bracha, and now you're going to say a bracha on the other 5 ounces. When you say the bracha on the other 5 ounces, are you fixing up the past? And therefore, you should have in mind when I'm saying the bracha now on the next 5 ounces, it's for the next 5 ounces, and it should fix up the past. Or do we say, I can't fix it up? Once I didn't say bracha on the first 5 ounces. I'm only going to be focusing on the next 5, but has nothing. It's not. I'm not having in mind. It should also cover the previous what I did. That's how someone will understand the Gemara. But that's the Gemara's question. Again, I did not say bracha at the beginning of my eating. Do I say the bracha in the middle of my eating? You know, you have a situation. You put on your talit, and you didn't say a bracha before you put on the talit. Do you say bracha after you put it on? Yes, because you're still doing the mitzvah. You're still involved in the mitzvah. If you put on your tefillin, you say a bracha on your tefillin. Do you say bracha afterwards, Mr. Haber? Yes. Why? But you still do, every minute you're doing the mitzvah. Once the mitzvah is over, you don't say the bracha. It's gone. Let's say you covered, the Torah says cover the blood when you slaughter a bird, and a kosher bird. So you cover the blood. Now, you're supposed to say bracha before you cover the blood. But if you didn't say the bracha before you cover the blood, it's over. You did the mitzvah, you covered the blood, it's over. So if the mitzvah is over, you will not say a bracha. But if the mitzvah is not over, a guy forgot to say Birkat Torah in the morning, and he learned Torah. But he's still learning more Torah, say the Birkat Torah, it's not over. So that's the general. So the Gemara says over here, he says Amalei. So he says back, Mi she'achal shum, somebody who ate garlic, Berachos nodef, and the garlic gives a very strong smell. Are you going to tell me should eat more garlic? If you have a bad breath, a bad smell, and therefore anybody who walks next to you is uncomfortable because of your smell from the garlic, you ate one piece of garlic, should you go ahead and eat another piece of garlic? Should you add to your problem, add to your mistake, or whatever it was? Same thing the Gemara says. The fact that I ate the first half without a bracha, I definitely need to go ahead. I made one mistake. I should continue making another mistake and continue eating out of bracha. I am required to go ahead and say a bracha on the rest of the food that I plan on eating. That's what the Gemara says back. Okay. I'm a Ravina. Now, Ravina takes this even further, which the Gemara is not going to accept. Hilkach, afilu gamasu dato. Even if you finished your meal, Yahzov Yavarech. He says that you finish your meal, you should say a bracha after you ate. How do you like that, what he says? He says that, meaning to say, what's the reason for Ravina? I made a mistake. I didn't say a bracha before I ate. I made a mistake. Okay. I can fix it up in the middle of the meal. I say the bracha and I'll be fine. But if I did not fix it up in the middle of the meal, so let me fix it up after the meal. I ate. I needed to thank Hashem for the food. I didn't thank Hashem for the food before, and I'll thank Hashem afterwards. I'll fix it up. So and he wants to prove his point from mikveh, from a ger, from a convert. What does it say? The Tanya, we looked at it right there. A guy who goes to a convert when he becomes a Jew, and he goes to the mikveh. When does he say the bracha on the mikveh? But he can't. He doesn't say not before he dips, because before he dips, he's not commanded. The bracha is Ashek Shalom Mitzvotav V'Tzivanu Ala Tfilah. He's not Jewish yet. He doesn't have a responsibility to say a bracha on going to the mikveh. It's only after he becomes a Jew, after he dips, and he becomes Jewish, then he could say about Hashem, God commanded that this is part of God's commandment to go ahead and go to the mikveh to be. But he as a Gentile, he doesn't have that mitzvah to say the bracha. So the Gemara says that Tanya Taval back in the Gemara, Taval ve'ola. The first word of the line is Sudato. He went to the mikveh and he went up out from the mikveh. Omer Maliato. He says when he comes out, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kiddush Mitzvotav V'Tzivonu Ala Tefillah. He says the bracha that Hashem commanded on the tefillah, on going to the mikveh. So we see you do the bracha. You could do the bracha after the fact. You see, he doesn't want to. He doesn't bring a proof from the Tefillah Yadayim, wash your hands. Wash your hands. At least we do the bracha after we wash our bread. After we wash hands, before we dry our hands. So it's not considered that it was completed yet, right? Right. Everyone has to remember that. You wash your hand. You say the bracha after you wash your hands, before you dry your hands, right? Therefore, it's not considered the mitzvah was totally, completely finished. But in mikveh, it's finished. The convert went into the mikveh. He did his dipping. That's. And then after he did the mitzvah, he says the bracha. So the same way he could say the bracha after he does the dipping, so too he wants to compare. So Mara says, Rabbi, there's a difference. There, the convert was not capable of saying the bracha beforehand. But you who are capable of saying the bracha before you ate, so once you missed out, you missed out. That's what the Gemara is going to say. The Gemara is going to make a distinction, exactly what Morris says. So Morris is thinking when you figure out the Gemara's answer, that means you're on a good wavelength. So, and it also means you understand the Gemara, because you can't answer the Gemara's question without knowing what's going on in the Gemara. So the Gemara wants to first say that it's comparable to that you could do the bracha after the mitzvah, and then the Gemara concludes, no. Look what the Gemara says. Velohi, you cannot compare the two. Hata meikara gavra lochazi. Over there, the person was not fit when he was the person before he was converted to Judaism. He was not capable of saying the bracha. However, also Rashi learns that the Gemara is talking about also, let's say, a person in the time period of Balkari. There was a time period that when a person had a discharge, the man had a discharge, was a time period that they said they cannot learn Torah, say brachot, until he went to the mikveh. So similar to the convert, he wasn't fit to say the bracha beforehand. Therefore, he could say it afterwards. However, hacha meikara gavra chazi. But here, the person in the beginning was fit to say the bracha, and v'hoyel v'itchi itchi. Since you missed it, you missed saying the bracha, so you lost it, and you cannot say the bracha afterwards. So that's what the Gemara concludes, and that seems to be the halacha. The halacha is, now if you look at Kufta, what's done, it's done. It's too late. In Simon Kuf Samach Zayin, Sifches. Let's see what he says over here. Kuf Samach Zayin, Sifches. The Shulchan Aruch says if you forgot to say Hamotzi, if you remember the middle of the meal and you're still eating bread, you say Hamotzi then. But if you did not remember till you finish your meal, it's too late. You don't say. You don't say.
What about another question? If you had two items, both of which had the same berachah, you had a banana and you had another that had banana. Are you? Is it suggested that you say the berachah on one of them, or you can combine them and say the berachah on both?
It's suggested that if you have an app, let's say you have strawberries which is adama, tomatoes which is adama, banana which is adama in front of you. It suggests you say one bracha, have them all in mind, because then it might be considered a, if you're not, then it's like you're saying a bracha that's not needed. If I say a bracha on the strawberries and the tomatoes are there, so why should I make another bracha? I could just cover it with that. What? If it wasn't, right, if I did not have it in mind, let's say I'm sitting down at my breakfast and I take out a banana. And I only want to eat a banana for breakfast. I'm not interested in anything else, any other adama. And then I said, you know what, I want to have a tomato. Then I would say another bracha on the tomato adama. Even though I said a bracha on the banana adama, because when I said the bracha on the banana, I was not thinking, I did not focus that I had in mind that I wanted to eat some other adama. Now, a lot of people, when they say a bracha, I think what they rely on, they have in mind, I say adama, I have in mind anything that's adama. Now, whether everybody feels that that's good enough, but I think that's what a lot of people do. I'm having adama, I know it's naturally, I know it's normal for me to go ahead and look for other foods as well. I know I'm not only eating this hadama. I know it's very common that I'm going to get hungry. I'm going to want something else. Once you open up the system, sometimes you get hungry. It says that with the eating comes the appetite. Sometimes the appetite comes before the eating. Sometimes there's an expression in Yiddish. With the essence comes the appetite. With the eating comes the appetite. So it's common that you have the appetite start. So therefore you have in mind, I'm saying hadama, and I have in mind all hadama. That should work, right? Because it's like to say, I'm going to have more hadama, or I know it's common that I'm going to have more. I know there's a good chance, so therefore I have in mind all hadama. So for sure, if I know I have it on the table, I know I'm planning on eating it. For sure, I should say one bracha and have them in mind. If I don't plan on eating the other, but let's say I'm a very disciplined eater, and I'm only eating this. I'm on a diet. I'm only eating this. And then I changed my mind. I'm not being a good boy on my diet. So when I had the bracha, let's say I'm having a rice cake. I'm on my diet. I'm only having rice cake. I'm only having a mezonot. And then after I add the rice cake, I'm going to have a piece of cake. I clearly did not have in mind the cake when I had the rice cake. I would say mezonot, then on the cake, because I did not have that in mind. I clearly had in mind one thing and not the other. That answer your question, Mr. Haver?
Yes, but if you went to the refrigerator, and you and they said, could I throw in the same beracha for two things?
So again, when you said the bracha the first time, did you have in mind to eat two things? Is it common that you would eat two things? I think I would think, I'll double check in the yeshiva. Hopefully today I'll speak to Rabbi Feinstein's son-in-law or someone else. I would think if it's common for you to eat that additional hadama, so and therefore you would generally have that in mind, that when I'm saying this hadama, I'm having the other thing as well. But if it's not common, you generally don't eat, you just eat this hadama, and then you decide I want to eat another hadama. So the first hadama most probably should not have covered if you don't commonly eat some other hadama. Mm-hmm. I'm the type of guy that I eat multiple things. That's why I lose a little weight. But if that's, but some people are very disciplined in what they eat, and therefore they don't have a mind to eat something else.
But getting back to the original question, is recommended.
It's recommended. You have multiple foods in front of you that are at them up. Well, you plan on eating those foods. I'm having they're bringing out now, let's say I'm gonna have potatoes later in the meal, and I'm opening up with a banana, and then they're gonna bring out potatoes in 15, 20 minutes. I definitely should have in mind that when I have the banana, one bracha to cover everything. Okay? And we'll continue tomorrow. We're gonna do 6:45 tomorrow morning, Bez Hashem, and then we'll and we'll see hopefully we'll do a double header again. Have a great day, Avram Shmuel.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Yosef Tzaddik. I don't see you on the screen, Yosef Tzaddik. Morris, take care. Take care, you too. Morris, I don't know. I mean, Yosef, you're like a hidden Tzaddik. I don't see you. Okay. Take care, you too. Have a great day, everybody. Be careful with all the tables and all the stuff.